I think it is the quintessential Halloween movie, like Halloween, the holiday, the season movie. It's the quintessential. I mean, hello, it's a witch, a pumpkin, and a skull mask. You can't scream Halloween any more than that. The practical effects are freaking amazing, and it's very underrated, the practical effects in this movie. And it's just something different.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply...
For over 40 years, the Halloween series has thrilled and terrified audiences. From its low-budget origins to spawning a new era of slashers. The franchise remains a cultural touchstone around the world, often referred to as the Gone with the Wind of horror. From the first chilling notes of the iconic score to the final frame. Join Joel Brown as we explore the iconic horror series, digging deep into the characters, the storylines, and the spine-chilling scares. Welcome to Talking Shape with Joel Brown, the ultimate podcast for Halloween franchise enthusiasts.
Halloween 3 Season of the Witch released in 1982 with a budget of about 2.5 million, bringing in 14 million, which I thought was pretty good, but apparently still considered a commercial flop. But over the 40-year journey, this black sheep has become a cult favorite amongst Halloween fans. It had all the key personnel, though. You had the likes of Deborah Hill, John Carpenter producing, obviously John Carpenter doing the music as well, Tommy Lee Wallace at the helm directing, but the one thing audiences were asking themselves when they went to see Halloween 3 Season of the Witch at the theaters was, where is Michael? And here to talk all things Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is the co-owner of Nightmare Toys. It is Nightmare Kristy Adams. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Now, Nightmare Toys in Vegas. Give us a story. Well, how did Nightmare Toys come about? You're the co-owner.
Yes, so me and my boyfriend started Nightmare Toys in 2017 in Huntsville, Alabama. He is a business owner. He owns other businesses. I am the horror fan, and I am the collector. I just had a job that I just needed, that I had for years that I just needed to get away from. It was time to get away from it. And Philip was just like, hey, let's just open you a little collectible store for something to do. So my something to do blew the hell up. And now we have a huge store in Vegas. Now we have a restaurant bar. But yeah, it was just supposed to be something to do, just to keep me busy. So I'm not just sitting at home or whatever. And yeah, it blew up. So yeah.
It's become a bit of a staple, especially within the sort of online horror community and horror community in general. Like you get signings there for obviously people who are starred in horror films or have some form of connection to any horror films or what have you. I guess the biggest names that you've sort of had come through Nightmare Toys.
Oh God, I've had a lot. So Kane Hodder, Daniel Harris, Tony Todd, Linda Blair, Roger Jackson, Zach Galligan, Ginger Lynn, and names go on.
And I guess from you said that you're the horror fan, but I guess have you had to kind of get your hands dirty a little bit and sort of do the business side of things?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I do some, and I have learned a lot along the way. And I like to be the one doing the ordering and stuff like that, and saying this is what we need to get. But yeah, I'm not too tech savvy, so that's where Philip comes into play.
because that was going to be the thing, right? Like, because I mean, like how employing staff, like how many staff all up would Nightmare Toys have, and obviously wages and just like the business side of it, right? Like, because a lot of people would
Right.
say, oh, how cool is this? Yeah, this horror toy store, but obviously, like anything, there's like the business side of it, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Rent is not cheap in Vegas, especially we're downtown Las Vegas too. So yeah, not cheap. And yeah, you got employees. Now with the store, we really don't have too many employees. But we have a lot, of course, for the restaurant though, because you have to have cooks, washers, waiters, bartenders, hosts. You have to have all that. But at the store, we just, I have my manager, Brian. He is freaking wonderful. I moved him and his wife from Ohio to here. And we actually met like on Facebook years and years ago when I started Nightmare Toys and he started ordering from me. And then we met at Texas Frightmare in 2018, and we've just been really good friends ever since. And now he's my manager. So he does a lot. He does a lot for me. And then I have a couple other employees too. We have that, counter people. Right now we've got Nikki and Joseph. And then I have my videographers. I got they're called the Sly Nerds, is their little team, and there's 3 guys. And then me and Philip, and that's it for Nightmare Toys.
And sort of off that offshoot was like, did the podcast as well? You got your own podcast as well?
Yes, we have Nightmare Podcast. It airs every Friday on our YouTube channel. Yes.
Yeah. And do you sort of find, is that an interesting way to, I guess, sort of, plug Nightmare Toys or like sell content? Is like, I mean, you don't have to worry about, getting sponsors. You can kind of, Nightmare Toys can be the sponsor, right? You can advertise things, right?
Right. Yeah. We just do our own little thing, and we'll talk about, either like a new movie or, or any horror movie, and then talk about products and things that we've got going on and whatever.
And horror conventions are massive now, and obviously, is it only when they're in Vegas that you'll sort of have a presence, or is it something that you'll sort of go traveling around the country to, I guess, expand the brand? I mean, is there any plan to sort of expand Nightmare Toys around the country, or sort of Vegas is where it's at?
No, Vegas is where it's at. We had talked about it before, like maybe opening a little something in Salem or whatever, and that would help with shipping and stuff. But I think now with having the restaurant, we've kind of taken, which is a lot to take on, honestly. I think we're good. But we do travel for conventions though. Yes. Like I said, Texas Frightmare, we started out as just kind of going, and then ever since about 2000, well, we were supposed to do it in 2020, and then we all know what happened then, the pandemic. But the next one that came after that is when we started doing Texas Frightmare conventions. We've been doing them ever since. We do Days of the Dead here. We've done a lot of them all over the place, though. And then we have a lot that we do in California now that we live this way. When we're in Alabama, we did do some other ones over there, but it's just too far of a drive to go to the East Coast at the moment.
And how does Alabama and Las Vegas, how do they differ?
Oh, it's huge. It is like night and day. Yeah, it's night and day. No one is vacationing to Huntsville, Alabama. The only thing in Huntsville, Alabama to do is the Space and Rocket Center, and that is it. There's nothing to do there. So basically, my store there, I had to build the online, to get us going. And I did that. The online got huge. So it's kind of like our little 2,000 square foot store was just kind of like our, warehouse in a way, but yet it was a store. I had people come in every now and then, but nothing like now. It's like so different now. The only time I would really be busy would be like Halloween time and Christmas time in Alabama. And that was it. So yeah. So we were like, okay, we've got to go somewhere where we got to get the in-store doing just as good as the online. We have to get that evened out because, that was a little bit hurting us in a way because we had to pay rent on that and everything, but not doing anything. So yeah, moved to Vegas. It was just something we love Vegas. We've been here millions of times. So we just knew it'd be a good fit, and it was a perfect fit. And so now my in-store is extremely busy every single day.
And I guess the concept, you said that Philip was the business side, you were the horror fan. And I guess this probably comes from like when because you've been a horror fan since a young age, or when did you find yourself becoming a horror fan?
About 5, 6.
Yeah. And was it because like obviously, there's no real horror toys out there, well, I guess, probably 40 plus years ago, 30 plus years ago, like not to the extent it is now, because it's really blown up, right?
Oh, oh yeah, considerably. But like, so I was a kid in the 80s. I was born in 78. I'm 44. Um, it was just, but back then it was so different for me. Like, I think a lot of toys that came out later on were a lot of Freddy stuff. Once Freddy started getting big, there were a lot of Freddy merch in the 80s, like late 80s. Um, but being a girl and liking that in the 80s, at least for me, was really different than what it is now to be a girl, because back then all I ever got told was, those are boy movies. Why are you watching boy movies? Why are you watching those nasty boy movies? It was always boy movies. So it wasn't like anybody would have gotten me in the toys, even though I wanted them. So I was the girl. They let me watch the movies, though, thank God. They let me watch them. They let me rent them. They recorded stuff for me off of HBO for me. But they would have never gotten me the toys. And there wasn't much toys back then, like obviously there are now.
And do you think that's why sort of the collecting and the sort of horror toys are so popular now? Because there was a whole generation that couldn't get them as kids, and now they're kind of just, reliving their childhood in some weird way?
I think so. I mean, I think so. And it's such a wide variety of movies being represented now in collectibles and toys. And with our movie H3, I can say this. I really think with the boost of all this H3 merch that we've had within the past, maybe 4 years now, 5 years, starting with Trick or Treat Studios and NECA, and all them, Trick or Treat Studios masks right there. And all them starting to make H3 stuff, I think that really got the ball going for a lot more people to really be into H3 recently.
It's so much good stuff. I can see the Halloween 3 mask and picture and that behind you. But I guess before diving deep into Halloween 3, Halloween, the franchise in general, how were you introduced to the Halloween franchise?
I'm not really sure. I think just watching the first one, obviously, I just remember having it recorded on tape. So, and I just remember just watch, and we only had Halloween. Did we have Halloween 2 on there? I can't remember if maybe I had Halloween 2 too. I can't remember, but I had Halloween, and I guess it was just from that. I'm not sure. I can't remember that moment. But I've been watching it since I was a kid, though.
And I guess overall, how does the Halloween franchise, where does it rank for you, I guess, just within being a franchise itself? And then I guess the big three, like, because I always see it as Halloween sort of kickstarted the slasher phenomenon of the late 70s, early 80s. And then you had Friday the 13th, then A Nightmare on Elm Street. I might be missing a franchise that you could add to that. Maybe, I guess, Scream sort of very much later in the 90s. And there's definitely a bunch in the 80s. Where do you rank the Halloween franchise? Is it sort of top or sort of mid-tier for you?
Oh, that's such a hard question, because it's all depending on what movies we're talking about, what timeline we're talking about. I've always been a Freddy fan, though. I've always been a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I was like all about Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy growing up. And I just kind of just liked Michael Myers. And I've really grown to love Jason and Friday the 13th movies over the years. I can just watch those so much. I'm not to say it's probably mid-tier, really.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Technically, no real witch in it. I mean, we've got a witch mask and maybe a warlock, I guess you could say. But I guess off the bat, why does Halloween 3 rank so high for you? Obviously, speaking off air, you said that Halloween 3 is basically one of your favorites, or is your favorite. So yeah, why does it rank so high?
And that I grown to love Halloween 3 because I didn't like it when I was a kid. But I didn't watch it very much, though, either. It just wasn't available for me to kind of keep watching. Like, you can do stuff now, you know what I'm saying, to try to, because sometimes when you watch a movie a second time, then you may like it. But I think it is the quintessential Halloween movie, like Halloween, the holiday, the season movie. It's the quintessential. I mean, hello. it's a witch, a pumpkin, and a skull mask. You can't, I mean, you can't scream Halloween any more than that. The practical effects are freaking amazing, and it's very underrated, the practical effects in this movie. And it's just something different. So, yeah, I just love it. The characters, I just love it.
And the trailer, or at least the ones that I can find, it was pretty ambiguous. It was just sort of the witch face and the spider crawling out of the mouth and the eyes, and it didn't really give away too much. And I think that was probably on purpose, because I guess being part of the Halloween tag, or having the Halloween 3 tag on it, I guess that kind of tricked a lot of audiences into seeing it, and then sort of having them, hey, where's the guy in the white mask, right? Because I think the one question, or the one sort of statement I always hear is the notion that Season of the Witch, if it wasn't associated with Halloween, the Halloween moniker, it would have done all right as a standalone, or it wouldn't have received as much hate. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree with that. Yeah, unfortunately, not a lot of people I don't even know if there's a lot of people who even know it now, but unfortunately back then, nobody knew that it was meant to be a trilogy of 3 different movies. It wasn't meant to be about Michael Myers. But the audience, when Halloween came out, made it about Michael Myers.
I'm sort of the opinion, I think it's a happy accident, or it was like instead of saying there was just a continuation from 2, like in Halloween 3 was a continuation of the Michael Myers story. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm kind of in agreement with this, that the franchise may have definitely took some different, it obviously would have taken a different turn, but maybe not had the longevity, because from 82 then to about 88, so that's about 6+ years, which then I guess kind of reintroduced Michael to a new generation. And you could even go up until 2018, the David Gordon Green trilogy, which has kind of reintroduced Halloween and Michael Myers to a new generation, which has kind of kept it going. And that anthology kind of was, a real spanner in the works, so to speak, that it made the franchise what it is, to the longevity. Obviously, it's all Michael Myers White Mask, but if we didn't have this anthology, this real sort of odd movie, it may not be the case. Do you agree?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I do. Yeah.
Halloween 3, it's been the black sheep within the sort of franchise for quite some time. Do you think that Halloween Ends is the new black sheep of the Halloween franchise?
Maybe yes, but I mean, with Halloween 3 being such a whole different movie, and yes, it not having Michael in it to where people want Michael in it, I don't know if we can really call Halloween Ends a black sheep, because it's going with whatever story they're trying to tell. But I don't know. I think only Halloween 3 would be the black sheep, really, to be honest with you.
But in your opinion, why do you think fans either hate Halloween 3 so much or love Halloween 3 so much?
Fans basically just hate it because of Michael Myers not being in it. That's basically their only reason. They're not giving it a chance to look at it differently, and see like what a spectacular Halloween movie it is. And then there's those of us that do see that and see everything wonderful about it and love it.
And I said from the top there, it had all the right personnel, had the likes of Deborah Hill, she was producing, John Carpenter producing, and obviously doing music, and Tommy Lee Wallace directing. A lot of the personnel, like, we're talking off air, Dick Warlock was one of the androids who obviously played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. Had all the key personnel, but obviously just missing that one person being Michael Myers. Right. And we were saying that, well, technically Michael Myers is in there. He's in the TV commercial, and obviously Dick Warlock. So and obviously Jamie Lee Curtis doing the voiceover for the curfew, right?
Right, yes.
Because a lot of people don't realize that apparently after Halloween in 78, everyone just thought that she was this big megastar, but apparently that was not the case. She wasn't getting as much work as a lot of people were thinking, and it was the likes of her featuring in The Fog and voiceovering for things like this, and she kind of got that Scream Queen moniker, but it didn't sort of start straight away for Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right.
And I was just curious, Jamie Lee Curtis, do you reckon she'll ever grace the hallowed walls of Nightmare Toys any day soon?
I don't know if I could ever afford Jamie Lee Curtis, to be honest with you.
Do you think the price tag's gone up because of that Oscar?
Oh, I'm sure it's gone way up. I probably never could afford her, to be honest with you.
Now, let's look at some of the characters. And Kristy, being a female, I need you to set the record straight. Dr. Daniel Chalice, obviously Tom Atkins. Is Tom Atkins a sex symbol?
Yes, he's a sex symbol.
Why? Explain, please.
Yes, he's a sex symbol. The gray hair, for one thing. I don't know. He's just so cool and suave, and all his characters he's done. I don't know. He just oozes sex appeal. Some people just do, and that would be Tom Atkins. And I've met him several times, and I've talked to him at conventions, and I've walked by him. I was like, "Hey, Tom," and we'll both be like, "Hey." I mean, he is fun. He is so much fun at conventions. He's so cool. I mean, I love him.
I get the vibe that he's a pretty easy guy to talk to and is pretty easygoing, right?
He is. He likes talking to his fans. He's super nice. Yeah.
Okay, Tom Atkins, sex symbol, certified sex symbol, of course, according to Kristy Adams.
I even got a kiss on the cheek from him too.
And how long did it take you to wash that cheek?
Oh, it was a while. Yeah.
Dr. Daniel Chalice, who Tom Atkins plays in Halloween 3. Now, is he a stud or is he a sleaze?
Oh, I think he's a stud. I don't think he's a sleaze at all.
Well, okay. Just I recently rewatched it, as you did as well, and like I knew that he was, shaking up with this young girl to go and investigate, the disappearance / murder of his father and his weird mask. But he's always sort of, I'll look after the kids to his ex-wife. I'll look after the kids on the weekend. Yeah. Then he's on the payphone with a 6-pack there and driving off with this young girl, and also the older nurse at the hospital giving her a touch on the backside there, and even chatting up the other young doctor who's going through all the wreckage and all that sort of thing. Just he had a way with the lady, so maybe he was a stud. But to me, it could have come across as a bit sleazy. You don't think so?
Well, I guess it could have, now that you point all that out. But when they're in the room, though, she starts it. Because she asks him, "Well, where do you want to sleep, Mr. Chalice?" What is a man going to say?
So that's Ellie Greenbridge, Stacey Nelkin. Yeah, it's interesting. Watching that, like, from a film perspective, does that come out of left field for you, or do you just think, oh, that's typical? I don't know who wrote that in, whether it was Tommy Lee Wallace or if that's a Deborah Hill / John Carpenter production. How does that scene sort of play out for you?
It doesn't bother me one bit. I just think it's funny. I think it's hilarious. I like how she says that, and I'm like, I know what's going on. I know what's up.
And it's funny as well when they're making the love as well. Tom Atkins' real wife at the time plays the lady next door who gets zapped by the little I guess what do you call the little chip? Is it like a little chip?
It's a chip. Yeah, chip. Yeah.
Yeah, and she gets her face blown off, and she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, who cares?" And this is
right
in the middle of making love. So that's why I thought, oh, does he come across a bit sleazy? Leaving the kids with his wife over the weekend so he can shack up with this young one. But that was obviously a man's interpretation of it. But yeah. But so you're gonna go with stud for Dr. Chalice?
Yeah, sure, why not?
What about Ellie Greenbridge as a character? Did you sort of identify with her or notice any sort of traits as a character in a Halloween film?
To me, she seemed a little goody two shoe, maybe a little bit like Laurie Strode, maybe.
Yeah,
in a way, just in her own way, though.
and what about Connell Cochran, the evil toy maker as well? I mean,
now, he's sleazy.
You reckon he's sleazy?
He's sleazy.
Do you reckon he's patting the female workers on the backside in the factory there?
Well, he's sleazy in a whole other way, I think.
And
in a diabolical way.
yeah, you wanted to kill young kids type of way, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
I guess that sort of themes, you may have picked up on some more. I mean, being a horror toy co-owner, do you think that is there a bit of a dig at consumerism in this movie? Is that a theme, an underlying theme? Do you feel?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. You kind of went out just a little bit.
No, that's all right. So themes, the ones I kind of picked up, I only picked up on a couple. You may have picked up on a few more yourself. I guess consumerism. You being a horror toy store co-owner, do you feel there's a bit of a dig at consumerism or how kids, I guess, are targeted? Kind of similar to, I guess, Child's Play, right? With Don Mancini, that was his big thing. Like it was like a big marketing thing, right?
Right. But with children and the masks and it being Halloween and all
Yeah.
that. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But the one I got was maybe kids not appreciating their toys, and it kind of goes back to our conversation of when we were younger, not having these horror toys, but now having them, and even just general toys. I walk through toy stores all the time, and I look at stuff and go, see, kids just don't appreciate these toys. So that's why there are, I guess, I was going to say adult toys, but that's something completely different. That's why kids they can't appreciate toys now because they haven't got the mindset of an adult, right?
Right. Yes, of course.
Any other themes that you picked up on with Halloween 3?
Let's see. No, I don't think so.
Because
I did notice something different. I did notice I never noticed before though, and I've watched this movie I don't know how many freaking times, but this is what happens every time I do a podcast, and I'll watch a movie before a podcast because then I'm like really zoning in. I seen this really cool Silver Shamrock clock that on the building, but your eye is supposed to be looking off this way, which my eye was always looking off this way and watching Dr. Chalice walk off in the town. I seen this clock, Silver Shamrock clock. I was like, well, that's freaking cool. I need a clock like that. I never seen that on the front of a building before in the movie.
And I guess probably with the latest sort of David Gordon Green trilogy, obviously the reintroduction of the Silver Shamrock mask was a big thing as well. And sort of just in general, I feel the last series was very. I mean, I don't know any other series or even horror films that could pay homage to itself within its own franchise, if that makes sense. Like obviously there's heaps of references to Halloween 3 with Halloween Ends with the titles and things like that. But obviously this is only the third movie in, so it's hard to sort of, I guess, reference it itself or have some hidden themes that it could only happen sort of later on within the franchise. But what about this random theory that Connell Cochran, he actually was transported to the David Gordon Green universe of the Halloween franchise? Because when the Stonehenge and Dr. Chalice gets all the little chips and in that little factory and zaps everyone and kills everyone with the the favorite video, the Silver Shamrock theme, which is embedded in all horror fans' heads. Anyway, he kind of turns like a weird white, which I kind of thought, oh, that could have been a little homage to Michael Myers with the white mask. But there's a theory out there that he didn't die, that he was transported to the David Gordon Green universe, hence why the Silver Shamrock mask, kid's wearing it there, and he's trying to do it all over again.
No. I'm sorry. Whenever we talk about this new trilogy, I'm like, yeah, no.
well, let's quickly talk about just that.
I think they just put it, they put in the masks and they're just for Easter eggs, and I don't think it has nothing to do with Colonel Cochran going in. No.
Oh no, these are just random theories. I've got heaps of random theories that made that when I explain them out loud sound so stupid. But just on the David Gordon Green series, you sort of already said that you weren't really a big fan of that trilogy. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. I don't like the storyline whatsoever. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate the acting is horrible. I hate the whole story. I don't like Michael Myers. I don't like how they portray Michael Myers whatsoever. It's not Michael Myers. Our Michael Myers is 1978 Michael Myers. They ruined him in these. They made him something completely different. I don't need him to be as brutal as he is. I only like Michael Myers to be brutal and Rob Zombie's take on it because that's his take on it. Other than that, I don't want Michael Myers to be brutal and throwing people and doing this and throwing cars and acting like Leatherface and I Jason or whoever you want to. I hate all of it. The only thing I like, James Jude Courtney, yes, he did a great job being Michael Myers. He looked fine. He looked great. The special effects, yes, were good. Christopher Nielsen did fantastic on that. I love that they put the H3 Easter eggs in there. That was great. And that's all I like about it.
Because I didn't realize it was such a divisive trilogy until sort of listening to other podcasts and other film reviews of it. Because I remember just watching it back in 2018 and thinking that it was that first film was solid. Like I guess because like I'm a Halloween fan. It's the genre. It's the franchise for me. So I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that there's no Halloween film this year being released because obviously we'll kind of get in a bit of a pattern there of one each year. Obviously, especially with COVID sort of delaying the process, but. I feel some people are a bit too hard on this latest trilogy. Does it have its issues? Absolutely it does. But I mean, what horror movie or franchise of this magnitude doesn't sort of have these big holes in it? But it just really surprised me that that people had this issue with the films. I guess to be honest, as a horror fan, I'm pretty easily please. I'll put a horror movie on maybe Saturday night or whenever I get free time because my wife hates horror movies, so I have to watch it whenever I can. And I don't know. I think it's probably more on me that I'm easily pleased. And do you think we talk elevated horror and horror fans in general in the likes of Twitter and all that sort of stuff, where everyone can kind of release their instant thoughts about things, are we too hard? I guess it's a generalized question. It's a big one, and I don't necessarily need for you to have the answer. But are we too hard on the genre, considering that it's horror movies and it's supposed to be cheap, easy, fun?
I think so. Maybe we might be. I mean, after a while of me talking about it, I laugh at my own self, and I'm like you on a normal basis. I'm pretty easy to please. I'm a pretty laid back horror fan. I don't get too crazy.
Being co-owner of Nightmare Toys, a massive horror fan, why do you think the Halloween franchise and the fan base is so passionate?
Okay, so for my experience so far, it is the most popular. I'm probably triple the people to love Michael Myers or Halloween more than any of the others, like Jason or Freddy or Chucky or something like that. Chucky is probably right below, though. Right below Michael. He's right behind him. But Michael, everybody loves Michael. So many people do. And then the franchise with it is the one franchise that has really actually so many different storylines in it. In a way, it's not consistent. We can all probably agree with that. It's not. So I think that's why, because there's so many types of movies, and so now there's so many storylines that people can either like or argue about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Freddy, it's Freddy. It's Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I don't know. There's not much really to argue about, but for whatever reason, there's so much to argue about when it comes to Michael Myers and the Halloween movies.
Well, I mean, it's got so many different timelines. They've got this anthology, with Halloween 3, which we're speaking about, and a reboot and reimagining. So yeah, there's so many different I guess things like you said to argue about. I guess the Jason Friday the 13th franchise, that was rebooted, but there was only one movie from that, and it's been pretty kind of consistent with its timeline. But you want to talk about gaping holes, Friday the 13th, was all of those on a Friday the 13th with the continuation or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting on the sidetrack, but Nightmare on Elm Street, it's always been sort of Robert Englund, right? But yeah, with Halloween, I guess, I knew that was the Halloween. Sorry, I knew that was the horror franchise. Like for me, like it was just, I don't know, and the thing is, I don't think even the fans themselves can explain why they love it so much. It's just, whether it was the first slasher of its time that made so many more movies and other genre or other, films, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, yada yada. Right. I honestly, if you'd ask me, like, why are you a Halloween fan? Like, I could sort of go into, being a massive John Carpenter fan since watching Halloween, because that was the first one. And then, oh, hey, he did, Escape from New York and The Fog and et cetera, et cetera. And actually, this is an interesting question. I've been sort of asking this to a lot of people. Now, John Carpenter created Halloween, and I know we're talking about Halloween 3. I promise we'll get back on track.
Fine, no problem. It's your show.
Yeah. Halloween, okay, 1978. That was just supposed to be one story from a suburban town in America, right? But
right.
I viewed it because I knew there was sequels, and I think I came in like half cut into like number 5, and I was like, oh, like I kind of didn't know the anthology of Michael Myers. I had a rough idea that his sister was Laurie Strode. So when I was watching the original one, I kind of already knew that, oh, hey, this is his sister, and he's like, wanting to kill his family for some weird reason. But because we know that, we're technically watched Halloween the original wrong. Well, it was just supposed to be a one-off John Carpenter movie about some lunatic who escaped from a mental asylum and was stalking babysitters. And I think sometimes as fans, we watch the original. We love the original because for what it is, but we also watch it wrong. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. It makes perfect sense to me. Well, when they made 2, they wanted to tie that in, so they added in the sister story on part 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think writer's block and a 6-pack of beer for John Carpenter. I don't think that was the same case with Halloween 3 here, but I wanted to throw a couple of more random theories. We're talking about Michael Myers. What about Michael Myers' mask being a Silver Shamrock mask?
Now that, I like that theory.
Could you link it in with how they're advertising the Halloween movie within that universe?
Right.
That's actually a movie, right? And like the big giveaway.
Right, exactly. I thought that watching it right before we started doing this. No, it could be. That's a good theory.
And what about Ellie was a robot from the beginning who was sent to bring Dr. Chalice to the factory? Kind of doesn't really make sense because her father died and that, but what say you? Was she a robot or okay? Is Ellie, did Ellie die in the factory and they created a robot version of her, or what, was she always a robot? What's your take?
I think they created her. I don't think that she was always a robot. I don't think that she was a robot until he had rescued her off of that table that she was strapped to. And at that point, I think is when they had already turned her into a robot. Because for a while there, from the last time you see her to that, she's not around. So something's going on with her, right? Well, they've been turning her into a robot. And then,
So, where's the real Ellie? Did they kill her, or was she in? I mean, she would have technically died in the explosion of the factory, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, because you see the other robots, they don't seem to speak, but they can sneeze, and she was doing a lot of talking, and I guess it goes back to the making of the love scene. I don't think Dr. Chalice, he would have known if he was making love to a robot, right? Because he's such a lady, because he's such a ladies' man, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I've already asked this, but Halloween 3, if you can give your call to arms, so to speak, of why Halloween 3 is such a good movie and doesn't deserve the hate that it gets. I mean, we've sort of said over the past 40 years, it has become a cult favorite amongst fans. What, if you can sort of say why that is?
Well, again, I keep saying this. It's a perfect movie to watch at Halloween time. Yes, of course, Halloween with Michael Myers, of course, it's so Halloween-esque, and you got him, but this is really just screams Halloween. I mean, I just can't, and I love the story. The story is just different, and it's about kids, and that's what, we remember Halloween being a kid dressing up, and this is a person that wants to kill kids with masks. I mean, come on, that's a great story.
And for so long, I probably, as a kid, avoided watching it because I knew that Michael Myers wasn't in it. And when I kind of ripped the Band-Aid off and actually sat down and watched it, I'm like, this wasn't too bad at all. And I think there's probably a big sort of a big contingent out there that are avoiding it because Michael Myers is not in it. So yeah, I think definitely check it out and I guess get the full Halloween perspective, say.
Yeah, I love it.
where to for the Halloween franchise, in your opinion, from here? Now, we had a Halloween Ends, which was, you could say was a pretty definitive end, I guess, with the Laurie Strode, Michael Myers storyline. I absolutely love the Alison Corey love angle and Corey copycat type of thing. I know that's, again, very divisive, kind of like Halloween 3, and I think that's the whole thing they were going for.
I didn't mind Corey. Actually, if we just took Michael Myers out of it and not call it Halloween Ends and just had his movie, it would have been a great movie. Yeah. I liked Corey. I liked his scarecrow mask. I liked that story. I think that could have been its own horror movie, its own slasher movie, just Corey killing with that scarecrow mask on.
Yeah, a lot of people said that like that could have been like a way to turn the franchise into the anthology that I guess Halloween 3 was kind to do, whether or not you have Haddonfield as that anthology kind of base where the stories come from. And that was going to be a thing. Like, would you think you could do either a Haddonfield anthology, maybe TV series, or could there ever be a Halloween 3 sequel? Halloween 3 2. Can you imagine that title?
Oh. I don't know if we need a sequel to Halloween 3. But I guess there probably could be, though. Oh, now that you said it, someone's going to do it.
Well, there's heaps of fan films out there, and I know there was an Australian that kind of produced and did a bit of. It was called Silver Shamrock Novelties, where I think someone goes to the burnt down factory. You see that one?
No, I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And then I think there's one called The Third Channel, which is out there where I think that might be in pre-production. Like it's obviously it's all fan film sort of stuff. So I can't
wait to see that though.
Yeah, the fans absolutely, love it, and would love to see that story explored. But kind of like the original Halloween, after it was done, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were like, well, we didn't really have much of a story after the first one, and I imagine it's probably the same with Halloween 3, but. Could you, with the Halloween franchise, could you pick up from ends, or do you think it'll be a reboot or anthology? What's your gut as a horror fan say?
So at this point in time, I'm kind of like, let's not do any more and let's just leave it be.
Yep.
But I know that's not going to happen. I don't know. Do we need another reboot? That's a hard question for me because right now at this point in my time frame, I don't want any more Halloween movies.
But I'm of the opinion that Halloween / Michael Myers is the Batman of horror, because we've had a few. I mean, they're gonna keep making Batman movies, right? I mean, we just had one with. But also, because I used to sort of think, you're diminishing the original. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, there's been so many different films and Michael Myers which introduce or are Michael Myers and Halloween to new fans, right? So, for example, Halloween H2O would have been the first Halloween I saw in theaters. And sort of Chris Duran sort of saying, like a lot of fans say, he is Michael Myers to a lot of fans, and Brad Laurie for Resurrection. And I'd imagine, the Michael Myers before were similar, like to people. Oh, that's Michael Myers to them. So I think that's a reason why they do reboot or continue it, because you can introduce a character and characters, but mostly Michael Myers to a new generation.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I think so. But I also think that maybe everybody should just like what was already made and like the original, and just there you go. But I understand that we have to just keep making them for for new people to enjoy them, and but I don't know. I'm not that kind of horror fan where I want to continue to have more and more of this. Like, I'm not even into wanting any more Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like that. I just, because Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger and that's it. But that's just me. That's just how I think. I think everybody should, generations and generations should just like what we have now and what has been made, instead of just keep making new stuff. I feel like we need more new characters to like, and new movies with other ideas is what we need, in my opinion, which is kind of what Damien and David gave us with Art the Clown and Terrifier. Now that is just blown the hell up, and now we have a whole new character, a whole new movie, a whole new story to like. And I feel like we need to continue something like that more new stuff, new ideas, instead of continuously taking things that are already good. And people need to appreciate that and continue to keep making stuff just cause. And a lot of it is just cause, really, in my opinion. And I'm good with that. I'm good with not having anymore.
Controversial take. I'm still yet to watch Terrifier or Terrifier 2. It's now on Shudder. I'm subscribed to Shudder, so I think that will be the perfect time for me to watch it.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead, go watch it.
It's very gory, right? That's the take.
Very gory. I'm into that though. So for me, I love slashers, and I like movies that to where you don't have to sit around and think about them. I like very simple, straightforward. There's a killer, they kill people, it's done. Yeah. That's just me, and that's what this gives you. I mean, it's just Art the Clown, and it's just gore. It's just stuff happening, and then part 2 you get a little more stuff going on in part 2. But yeah. It's crazy.
Let's talk more business with Nightmare Toys. Now, if fans listening either based here in Australia or around the States or around the world, do you guys ship internationally? Or how does that work?
We do ship internationally, yes. There are some countries though that we don't ship to nowadays, just because COVID kind of messed up those things. It's hard for me to explain that. But COVID really messed up shipping.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to cut out a lot of countries because they just would never get their product. Like they would just never get it. But we do Australia. We have a lot of fans from Australia, and we do have people that order from us. It's just, honestly, it's just expensive for y'all, and there's just nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, that's the exchange rate. I think it's about $1. Oh God, what is the exchange? I'd have to look it up right now, but I think it's like about $1.50. I'm probably way off, but yeah, it was funny. My mum was over in America. She's like, "Oh yeah, this was only like $6." I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably about $5 million Australian though. That's why no." I'm joking. It's yeah. I mean, I've got to get on a whole different rant about the cost of living in Australia. I mean, we are in the lucky country here, as we like to say in Australia. But yeah, I don't know how bad inflation is over in the States.
It can be bad. It can be bad, especially if you're in Vegas and big cities like this. Yeah,
and the big high rollers who come in and spend all their money at the casinos. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just in Vegas, what's the lifestyle in Vegas? Is it? I mean, because you get people who go there just to have their holiday. I'm gonna liken it. I'd imagine. I've never been there, so this is me just talking out my ass. Like we have a place called the Gold Coast, where like there's lots of amusement parks, and there is a casino, but definitely not to the extent of Vegas. But it's a holiday place. Vegas, is it basically a holiday destination, or I mean, what's the vibe living there? You work there, so it would be a completely different vibe for someone who's visiting.
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody comes here. I mean, it's a huge vacation place, I think. And there's a lot to do for horror fans now. There's more and more things popping up. You've got us, Nightmare Toys, Nightmare Cafe. You've got Zach Bagans Museum is there, Tom Devlin's museum, It Escape Room, Saw Escape Room. There's a little pizza place that's a horror pizza place. I haven't been. And then there's other like collectible stores. So not horror collectible stores, but just regular collectible stores all over, too. And then Halloween Horror Nights is going to be coming to Vegas. We're going to have a Halloween Horror Nights here 24/7. So that's going to be really cool.
From a Nightmare Toys perspective, now bringing this back to Halloween, do you think? I don't know. You wouldn't have the stats in front of you right there, but what's your biggest sell? Like, is Halloween still like a big seller, percentage wise for Nightmare Toys, or has Art the Clown now kind of superseded that, or is there consistent things which are selling, or it's all over the place?
No, that's pretty consistent. Michael Myers always sells. It's never not going to. And then, of course, right now, everybody's wanting Art the Clown stuff because that's what's popular right now. Within the past few months, that's what everybody's wanting. It's a lot of whatever movie and merch is out for that movie at the time that's popular. Then that's what's going to be what everybody wants, no matter what that movie would be. But still, Michael Myers is still on top, though, no matter what. Everybody wants Michael Myers stuff.
And I mean, you probably already alluded to it, but why do you think that is?
I'm not really sure. Again, I think it's just because it's that many fans out there that love him and love the movies. And I'm again, from what I'm seeing over the years from having the store, it's like he's on top. I mean, he's the one. And when I first started, excuse me, when I first started Nightmare Toys, there wasn't really any Halloween merch at all. There was no Michael Myers stuff. It kind of happened, and that was 2017, so it happened in 2018 when all the merch started coming out, and then everybody just went crazy.
Now, how can fans keep up to date with Nightmare Toys, Nightmare Kristy? What's the best way to do that?
Well, you can follow us on all social media. Nightmare Toys is on everything. We've got TikTok. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's where you'll see my live show every Wednesday at 2:00 Pacific. We air our podcast on there. We have our Deadly Destination show. We air every Monday. And then any other videos that we're making from conventions or signings or whatever else we have going on, we have behind the scenes videos on there as well too. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Nightmare Toys is on everything. So Nightmare Toys, just Nightmare Toys, everything's under that. And then myself, I have Instagram, Twitter, and I just joined the whole Threads thing today from Instagram. I don't know. So I got that now. And then I have my other accounts. I've got an OnlyFans, Little Fans, and a Fansly, and everything is under Nightmare Kristy.
Awesome. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us, Kristy. Greatly appreciate it. Halloween 3, a cult favorite within the franchise. Thank you for, like I said, taking the time to speak with us about it. We were speaking off air about the Australian market. Can you put a percentage on how many people from Australia are buying from Nightmare Toys?
Oh, geez. I'm not even sure. I would say at least a good 20%, 30%. I get a lot of people, especially like when I'm on my social medias, I got a lot of people from Australia on all the social medias, and then Ireland. It's a lot of people from Australia and Ireland, I've noticed.
That's a good way to tie things with a nice little bow there, being Ireland, being the Silver Shamrock novelties and all that. And,
right. And we have talked, me and Philip had talked, if we ever did put something in another country, it would be Australia. We have talked about that.
And why is that?
I guess just because that's how many fans we have from there, and how many people have ordered from us from Australia.
Yeah. And if you were to, what cap city would you be looking to put it in? Would it be Sydney, Brisbane, or Melbourne?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I don't know what would be better. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I kind of feel maybe Melbourne. I only just say that because I feel like the transportation, just the CBD is a lot better built, but I don't know, you'd have to do your own little studies on, I guess, surveying people. But like I said, I feel that there's a hotbed of fans and talent here, horror movie wise, but I just don't know if we have the population like to for it to be like something that can continue, like or be consistent. And that's what you want. Obviously you want, consistent business. And I'm just sort of thinking, like, because I would love, like conventions to come out here. But again, y'all
need a convention.
Yeah. That's what I've always said. Like,
really
I think we had one years ago, and it was like in Parramatta. And I think Robert England was one of the special guests who, like, you need, I'd imagine, like, you need to establish yourself, and you need to sort of, I guess, bring out some big names and then go from there. But I imagine the convention business and just, retail business in general, it's tough. It would be really, really tough.
It can be, yeah. Australian horror movies are one of my favorite, though. I love Australian horror movies.
Yeah, so like the likes of Wolf Creek.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Did you watch Sissy?
I don't think so.
It's on Shudder. I came across it by accident. It's like about an influencer who basically isn't what she says she is, and she sort of meets up with an old friend, and you kind of find out through the journey that her and this other girl had some history, and she basically loses the plot on this Hens Night, which is a lady So when hen's night, is that a term in America? Like, you know, you have the bachelor party, you have the female version of the bachelor party.
Yeah, like a bachelorette party.
Yeah, we call them hen's nights. So yeah, go figure.
Oh, okay, yeah, bachelor party, bachelorette party.
Yeah, exactly.
This girl looks familiar. I'm looking it up on IMDb. I think I watched it. I might have to go back and watch it again, but I think I watched that.
Yeah, that's the most recent Australian one I've watched. But yeah, I would love to see not a ripoff, but I'd like to see like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque movie, but in like rural like Australia or something like that.
Yeah,
something that like that. But what about you talk about bringing Nightmare toys out to Australia? What about coming out and checking out our fine country, Australia? Have you been to Australia before?
I have not been to Australia. I do have a small, huge problem with flying.
You hate flying. You hate
I
flying.
don't like flying. I hate it.
maybe you can catch a cruise. It might take a good few weeks or something. Or...
Oh, I don't know about that either. I don't like water either. I'm very weird. Like here, like we drive. I make like because we have to go back to Alabama every so often. I mean, my daughter still lives there, and then his other business is still there. So we go back there every so often, and I make him drive. We drive, and it's a 2-day drive to Alabama.
Yeah. Wow.
He's like, why can't we just fly? No, I don't want to fly.
So it's I can see. I mean, but it's so funny. It's the opposite with me and my wife. She loves the event of going to an airport, getting ready to fly, and all those sort of things. But I could imagine on the flip side, someone like you, you'd be absolutely dreading that and hating that, right?
Yeah, no, I can't. It gives me such anxiety, and then around all the people, and then I'm in an airplane, and that's all that. I have flown, obviously, but I don't know. If I had to choose, I'd probably fly than get on a boat because I absolutely do not like water. I do not want to get stuck in the middle of the water. Yeah, no.
Yeah. I was going to say, probably best not to watch any Final Destination movies before any traveling.
Oh, yeah, no. Right?
Kristy, you've been absolutely sensational with your time. I greatly appreciate it. Would love to have you back on the show sometime soon. I guess Halloween 3 is your favorite. What's your, obviously minus the 1978, what's your second go-to in the Halloween franchise?
Part 2. Yeah, I really love Part 2.
It's a solid sequel, and I think like I feel it is very loved amongst fans, but sometimes underrated, if that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I like a good hospital horror movie, so I love it, just being in the hospital and stuff. So yeah, I absolutely. Sometimes I like Part 2 more than I do Part 1. Hate to say it, but sometimes I do. Yeah,
there's a lot more action, a lot more kills, and you get the really robotic Michael Myers with Dick Warlock. I think there is a lot to like about it. Kristy Adams, thank you so much. I've been trying to wrap this up for the past 5 minutes, but I keep getting sidetracked. I could speak horror movies and just.
We can sit here and talk all day.
Well, that's what it is. I've actually got to go play football as well, and feel really sore after it. So, but no, you've been real generous with your time. I could stay here and chat, getting the countdown from Zoom here, but. Yeah, I guess I've already sort of given you the chance to sort of, plug yourself. But is there anything else that you can plug or a one-liner you can throw out there?
I want everybody to make sure you're watching the Nightmare podcast, and wherever you podcast, you can watch us or listen to our podcast wherever you podcast, or you can watch on our YouTube channel, Nightmare Toys.
Kristy Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Talking Shape, the ultimate Halloween franchise podcast created by the fans. Make sure to stay up to date with the latest episodes by following Talking Shape on Twitter @talking_shape and liking us on Facebook. Feel free to give us a review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We appreciate your support. Until next time.
Go home! Go home!